Hello, my name is Debbie Boone, and I want to welcome you to my podcast, The Bend, where we explore how successful people navigated the path and emerged in a better place when life threw them an unexpected twist. It's inspired by one of my favorite sayings: the bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the curve. These conversations will hopefully help you and inspire you to embrace your personal bend and to flourish. I hope you enjoy it, and if you need help with your own personal navigation and you're in veterinary medicine, please feel free to reach out to me at Debbie Boone 2 Manage Vets Consulting. Enjoy the bend and be inspired by our wonderful guest. Welcome. Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of The Bend. Now, today I have a really exciting guest because we've known each other for quite a while, living on one coast, one living on the other coast, but I've been on his podcast and now he's graciously agreed to be on mine. So welcome to Adam Greenbaum. Once upon a time, Adam says he was a marketing whiz. I think he still is, truthfully. And you guys probably know him as the entrepreneur behind Whisker Cloud. So now I'm going to let him tell you the story about all this, how it all, he ended up, I guess, selling out, co-branding, building a whole new brand with PetVisor, Whisker Cloud, Pet Desk, Vetstoria, Contact, and Groomer.io. So, Adam, thanks for coming, and I'm really interested in hearing about your bend in the road.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And yeah, like you said, it's been a crazy going on 9 years in vet med, and yeah, a lot of changes in the last 2 years. Do you want me to talk about that and talk about
Yeah,
what's going on? All
let's
right.
do. Let's talk about how you got into vet med because
Yeah, yeah.
just from marketing out there in the world to deciding that we were your people, huh?
Yeah, well, you know what's funny is I grew up with parents that well, I did anyway. I had a really weird childhood. Parents who weren't always great, hated pets, hated dogs and cats. So oddly, I never had a pet growing up. Moved out of the house when I was a junior in high school, and got a cat. Did that thing, and I mean, I'm just an animal lover. So God, going back maybe like 2007, I started a dog rescue called I Boston Terrier. And I had a Boston Terrier named Sophie, and then we rescued a Boston Terrier named Baxter. And, this rescue ends up becoming huge. It's a national website. We worked with chapters in all 50 states, and basically people would rescue Boston Terriers and reach out to us, and we'd either raise money for them to help them or pay for their vet care. So over the years, I had just become close with so many vets because they had helped me in 50 different states take care of the Bostons that were being rescued that I was coordinating from Las Vegas, which is where I'm from. And I don't know, I just had this soft spot for veterinary medicine, and I kind of found my way to it as I started to develop skills and realize I can start a business. So yeah, I mean, just the compassion and help to help all these rescued Boston Terriers over the years is what made me say, okay, I want to do whatever I can for that industry.
Well, we appreciate it because I agree with you that vet med is special and the people in it are very special and kind and caring. And we always laugh and call human medicine the dark side of medicine. So vet med is always,
I agree, by the
yeah,
way.
it's the positive side. So let's talk a little bit about how you started Whisker Cloud and then how it's progressed to where you are now.
Yeah. So I was single guy, moved to Denver with two dogs. And oddly enough, I moved to an area called Denver Tech Center, south of downtown Denver. And I'm like, okay, it was my first day there. It was April. It was snowing. And I'm like, I'm going to sit on this couch and I'm going to find a vet because, these dogs are my life. That's what I want to do on day one. I want to find a vet. It's like the first two sites I looked at were old, broken. I was sitting there on an old iPhone. I mean, it was a while back. And I'm like, nope, this isn't good. So I start looking at reviews online. There's bad reviews. No one's replying. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to file this away under this industry needs help. I had a tech career in Denver. I was a third employee at a company called Havenly, which is virtual interior design. And I ended up leaving to start an advertising agency. And, it kept growing and it went really well. There was only one problem. I had a bunch of clients in industries I didn't like. We had lawyers and real estate agents and a bacon brand, and I just I hated it, and I
Yeah.
was really unhappy, and, I was talking to a vet one day, and, they said, "Well, God, I wish you could do our website. We hate our website." And, I said, "Well, what'd you spend? What do you pay?" And, I said, "Okay." So that kind of planted the seed and, started calling some vets and reaching out on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and having conversations. And, yeah, I mean, early on, I had a conversation with a guy named Jim Dobies, who's the founder of Urgent Vet. And, it's just I had all these little things happen, and I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna build something." And I, looked around at what else was out there, and I said, "Okay, I have a good idea of the companies that are out there and who's been around. I think I have a different spin on it." And yeah, I started Whisker Cloud. We officially launched to the world in June of 2016, started building in 2015. And today, Whisker Cloud serves around 2,000 clinics around the globe.
Wow, awesome. Well, and I can tell you that from working with Whisper Cloud for one of my client websites, you guys earned a reputation for being easy to work with, and
Yeah.
the customer service is great. And I know that you were absolutely a fanatic about the customer service. And so we have that in common because I've been training customer service truly all my life and grew up in the restaurant
Yeah,
business and just wrote a book about, customer service in medicine.
I saw
Um,
that.
so I really, I would have to say that you lived your values there at Whisker Cloud as far as serving people very well. So tell me a little bit about how this merger and all the big new company came to play.
What's funny is, like, on the surface, I think there's especially with what's going on in veterinary medicine right now, I think it can scare a lot of people, and it can freak a lot of people out.
Mhm,
I'm no different than an independent practice owner. I bootstrap my company. I never raise money. So most companies you'll see in veterinary medicine, they're selling you something, have raised money or have, someone bigger behind the scenes. It
mhm,
was never that. Go back to literally about 2 years ago. In 8 days, it's the 2 year anniversary of the acquisition. And it was bootstrapped, and it was me for 6, 7 years working 120 hours a week.
mhm,
And, like you said, being fanatical about everything. And, during COVID, I remember March 13th, 2020, when they told everyone to go home. In our office, they were like, "You have to leave right now." And I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and we're watching the local news in LA. And literally, they're like, "This is all you're allowed to do, California." It's like, go to the grocery store, go to the doctor. And then it was like, go to the vet. And I looked at my wife, I'm like, wow, that was lucky. So I'm like, I mean, I was literally emailing and texting probably 500 different vets that I'm close with, like, "Don't worry, we will figure this out." So, that weekend we launched some like online check-in stuff that we just built like in a weekend, like the
mhm,
whole team. And, but those are the stories that were really hard to maintain. And, Taylor Kavanaugh, who's the CEO and founder of Pet Desk and is a good friend of mine, Julian Renard, who's the CEO and founder of Vetstoria, has also been a good friend of mine for a long time. We all talked and we said, God, it's like a website's great, but it's even better when you've got an online booking thing through VetStory. And it's great when people book, but it's even better when you can, interact with them. So we all had these pieces to the puzzle
mhm,
that the other ones really needed to feel like we were offering everything we could to our clients. So, we had a lot of talks, and there was a private equity company involved. And yeah, I mean, we all came together. And it's like I said, I think there's a lot of there's 50-50 thoughts on that type of stuff, whether it's for practices or for companies like ours. But I can tell you all, like, this is what came out of that. I'm obviously still here. I get to work with these guys as like partners every day, which is really important. My All my employees, we always had good benefits and good pay, better benefits, more access. Now our company's like 350 people strong. So, you go from being really good at this, and they're good at this, and they're good at this, and together we're this like really beautiful symbiotic thing. And, every founder and CEO from all of our companies are still here. We're all still in every meeting. I mean, I still work the same amount of hours just because this is my life and this is all I care about. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't this thing where it's like, all of us got these huge checks and we're gone. It truly wasn't like that. It was just like, we want to really have a cool offering here, and we want to do something that literally no one else is doing. There's not another company in the space that has all of these things. We have Contact now, which is phones,
Right.
and we have our groomer app, which doesn't really pertain to vets, but it's also really cool because just getting to know pet groomers, they're a lot like vets, not as they don't have big buildings. A lot of them are either mobile or things like that, but it's the same love and passion for animals and
Mhm.
wanting to keep them clean. So there's nothing else I want to do on earth. And I've said that to a lot of our customers who get worried about this, like, I'm worried, blah, blah, blah. And I say, look, if we all left, I would be worried, but we're all here, and that should show you the commitment we have to this. And I mean, I still lose sleep over it. If a customer's upset, I still, do those calls. I mean, I'm still involved. So yeah, it's a lot. It's been exciting. The messaging was on me to come up with the messaging. I think we've done a good job in navigating a small industry with all of these changes, and we're just going to keep getting better. So
Great.
yeah, that was my very long answer.
Well, uh, neither of us are short-winded, Adam, so it's all good.
Yep.
The thing I do remember so well, the first time I met Julian with Vetstoria, and it was at VMX on the trade show floor. It wasn't, I think maybe it was the year before COVID, or maybe it was maybe the first attempts that VMX had after COVID. I can't remember, but seeing that Storia, he demoed it for me. I went, this is brilliant. I just
Yeah.
really loved and I've recommended it, a million times. So one of the things I always caution my clients about is you can subscribe yourself into the poorhouse with a bunch of different apps that
Yeah.
overlap. And so I see that what you guys have done is probably eliminate a lot of redundancy here, because there's so much, I'm paying for this app to do 5 things, and this does 4 things, but 2 of them are the same thing that this one does, but it adds 3 more. And it's really hard to navigate all that. True, too. There's a
Yeah.
lot out there, and there's a lot rolling out there. And this year at VMX, we didn't get to see each other, but I think we were both there, and everything in the startup circle was all AI. So are you guys really looking to pull AI more into what you're doing?
Well, I mean, I don't want to call it true AI. I mean, there's a little bit of that stuff in VetStory now. So
Mhm.
we have like trackers for emergency keywords that can be set up, things like that. I'm and I don't want to speak for everyone at PetVisor, Pet Desk, VetStory, but I will say from my perspective, me being an AI lover, I have an AI newsletter that I do on the side just because I'm like so intrigued by it. I'm I'm still cautious about it in veterinary medicine, as crazy as that sounds, because I think everyone should be using AI. My marketing team uses AI now. Whisker Cloud uses AI. I think it's important. I think it's good, but there's just so many guardrails that need to be put in place, and I get worried that if you're getting something out of the box that's truly just like I'm worried of like, there's hallucinations is what they're
Yes.
called at ChatGPT and Bard and things like that. Where
Mhm.
I mean, in God, I don't want to be on the receiving end of a
Right.
hallucination for one of my dogs or cats. So I do think we'll get there. I would say for us, we're more focused right now on just having just like clean, great products that are really easy to use and focusing on integrating, like we just integrated contact phones into Pet Desk. And again, it all sounds confusing. At some point, this will literally just be like Pet Desk phones, Pet Desk websites, things like that. But yeah, I think we're more focused on the integration. So AI is cool and it's flashy, but man, I'd rather be able to have like my dashboard up and then the phone rings and it's pops up on the screen of who's calling and when we last saw them and things like that. So I'm more focused on building that type of stuff than I am with AI, even though at the company out of 350 plus people I am the AI guy. And I think that's why I'm so cautious about it in vet med, because I think we all know what one slip up could mean for a business.
Oh, yeah. The story that always pops into my head about AI is the lawyers who were using it, and it made up,
Yeah.
a legal precedent
I
that
know.
they're like, whoa. So, and even if you tell it not to make up stuff, it still can,
I know.
and it can be biased and it can pull up weird stuff. But I've used it a lot working with practices for things like building standard operating procedures, because it's
That I
really
love.
good at
That I
list
love.
making. And even if you go in and you want to change it and tweak it, at least it is very good at organizing information, and then you flesh it out or then you tweak it, but then you must review it. You cannot take it, you know, at face value here. Last night I was going to the grocery store and I am on a low carb diet because my glucose was high last time I went to the doctor, and so I had it create me a list of low carb foods. Now,
I love
okay,
that.
it knocked it out of the park, so I just take it with me to the grocery store and try to find enough vegetables that I can survive on. But yeah, you really do have to be cautious about it. I've talked to doctors who are using it to do medical chart notes. You know, it's kind of they build a template and then they can just
Yeah.
put in a few
I
things,
love that.
doing a
I
very good
love that.
job there.
Yeah.
But one of the funniest things that I have seen AI do, this was at our vet partners meeting, and one of the doctors was giving a talk about AI. And so, as a marketing person, you will appreciate this. She works at the animal shelter, and she was trying to get marketing messages out about the importance of heartworm preventative. And she had said, you know, do it in a voice that's like the medical voice. And so it's talking about, you know, difilaria and microfilaria and all this kind of stuff. And then she says, and do it in the like the voice of a layperson. And then she says, do it in the voice of Sarah McLachlan from the Humane Society commercials. We were rolling laughing. It was so hysterically funny, but it was an absolutely just that, you know, your dog means everything to you, and it's so important that you protect them from all the possible. It was just, it went on and on and on. So you can use it and have some fun with it too, but I do feel like we need to be very, very careful with it. And I was reading an article on it yesterday, and I think they're coming out with I can't remember what it's called. You'd probably be familiar with it, but it's a new tool for specifically for customer service. And when you're
Yeah.
answering the phone and you're getting customer service stuff. And I still always feel like there needs to be a human, right? There needs to be
Yeah, I'd be
it's the
terrified to
guardrail.
roll that. I'd
Yeah.
be so terrified to roll that out. Because like I said, as you said earlier, like I'm fanatical about customer support and I know most of the clinics we work with are the same. And I do like what you said though, because I did two talks at conferences in the last few months and both about AI and like SOPs, like you said, amazing. One thing that I talked about in one of mine was, writing email templates
Mhm.
and just having templates done. And, like my prompts would be something like, you're the owner and veterinarian of a clinic in this town. You are caring and compassionate, but also, and this is where people would fill in the blanks. Like, what type of communicator do you want to be? Do you want to be a concise and honest communicator? Do you want to be a little bit more caring and touchy feely? Because you should put those things in. So, you'd say that and you'd say, I need templates for 5 emails. I'm going to give you information. Here's email one. This is our email of a, negative whatever blood test or something, like negative heartworm test and a positive heartworm test, and here's a couple notes. So if you give a really good prompt and you do that and then you just copy and paste it, I mean, you'll have 50 different email templates to send out all the time.
Mhm.
I really really love that. And like what you said, I love being able to put together guides inside the clinic. I mean, for us, one of the things that I do, because I moved into the global CMO role at PetVisor, so I oversee all of the marketing now. We've created these like long form prompts describing our customers. I mean, they're very long. They're like 500, 600 words. And we'll put like a new email marketing template or new social post and say, this is a post going out. This is why we're putting it out. This is the message behind it. Here is the information about our customers. Does it resonate? And if not, what do we need to change? And it's like, yes, this resonates. You've described it perfectly. Or it'll say, hey, you didn't clearly describe exactly the value they'd get. And it's like, wow, okay. 5 humans didn't think of that, but this robot's like, you need to describe the value better. We're like, okay, let's rewrite it. So we use it almost to be like a non-biased, non-human, just blunt, you did this right, or no, you can be better. And that's a cool way to use it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I think people do need to realize is that the information that Chat GPT has to utilize is everything before 2021. Is that not correct? And they haven't updated, they
Yeah,
have
they did a
everything.
little updating,
Yeah.
but yeah, in terms of news, I mean, you can toggle on, if you're using the paid version, you can toggle on like internet access. And you can use things like Bard. Bard's free.
Mhm.
I think they just rebranded it to Gemini, but that has internet access. But yeah, you're right. I mean, and again, it's still. I mean, I love it. I use it. I'm not kidding you all. I use 5 different paid AI apps, and I probably use them 25 to 30 times a day for
Yeah.
everything, my calendar, things like that. Like, I'm very, very big on it, and that's why really want to preface this with
Mhm.
this. I love it, and I
Yeah.
think it'll make its way to our clinics, and it'll be great. It's just like I said, the interactions with customers. I just put myself. Would I be okay if and by the way, I had like a thing with a former vet who, my dog ended up being put on the wrong medicine, got really sick, and the email originally putting them on the medicine had no description. It was just a very horrible thing. And I think that could happen with
Mhm.
AI easily.
Yeah. Well, I think the things that if you look at the things that are time consuming in the clinic that are common things that we are repeating all the time,
Yeah.
it's a really good tool for that. And so building things like workflows. I was in one of my clinics that's a Cornerstone user, and I said, build me a workflow for end of day closing for the client service representatives
That's cool.
and do it step by step. And in 20 seconds, we had this perfect,
Isn't that
wo
great? It's like if it's pretty close to perfect
yeah,
every time. Then you just tweak it.
yes, because they're
Yeah.
pulling all this data from, like, the manual that's actually
I
on the
know.
internet and telling you how to do the things. But take-home instructions for clients, honestly, I think the take-home instructions for a spay or a neuter, I'm sure hasn't changed since 1985
Nope.
since I
I
was
agree.
started in practice, and those are absolutely things that we can have it build for us and then attach it to a service code and have it print out on the invoice, and there, bang, you don't have to
Yep, I
touch
agree.
anything, just take home
I
instructions
love that.
for clients. But, as a speaker, I can tell you, we all know that our clients, and our audience remembers about 10% of what we tell them. But if we have something in writing, then that's a real boost to the memory of what we've taught them. That's why I think it is so important as a customer service person is to give written instructions to clients, even though it seems old school.
Yeah.
People do not remember, and they're stressed in the exam room because even if it's just a normal wellness check, they don't
Yeah.
really know that it's going to be normal when they come in. You might find something, and that's kind of frightening. And I just feel like this is going above and beyond for customer service is to have these things available to people to have as a crutch. And then, of course, even more favorite things are videos that we attach to do show and tell. Here's how you pill your cat. God help
Yeah.
you, right? You can
And
try
it's funny
that.
you say that because literally right now, we just dropped my cat off right before this at the cat clinic down the street, and they have to put her in the little gas chamber
Oh,
thing to sedate her. They literally put her in this little box and do the thing. And
yeah.
this 7 pound tabby cat that we rescued 7 8 years ago is this big, and she will literally fight a bear if she had the chance. So they have to. Yeah, but I love what you're saying because, and I think it's like if you're a CSR or you're a practice manager or really anyone on the team, even the thought, it's like busy admin work. It's like, oh yeah, I'll get to that thing, I'll get to that thing. And what you said is right. Now you can just write a good prompt and say, hey, you are I always like to give it the beginning prompt is I always like to really tell it who it is. So I always say like you're a seasoned veterinarian, you're very meticulous in your work, and I need your help. I need you to help me write a spay and neuter take home, for, cat and one for dog. Please include full instructions. Please make sure it comes from me, and then you can put the doctor's name, you can say
Yeah.
Dr. Adam Greenbaum at Newport Beach Animal Hospital. Put our phone number if they need anything, and make sure they know how to contact us on our website. And then it's just like, and then not only does it create it, but it like personalizes it in your voice. And then like what's really nice is once you've done a couple, then what you say is, and you say, and I'm also going to attach a writing sample. Please use the exact same voice and tone. So once you have like one really locked in, then you just attach it, and then forever it's like the same voice, same tone, just changes it. And it's
Mhm.
like, I mean, I imagine if you're a CSR, you could sit there for a couple hours and probably have like 30 templates
Oh, yeah.
done and make your life really easily.
Well, when I showed ChatGPT to the lead technician in one of my clinics, you should have seen her eyes light up. I'm going home, and all I'm going to do afternoon is write SOPs. Well, it won't take you all afternoon to do that because you can do it quickly.
Yeah, I don't know how like kids in school. I mean, I don't know how schools work. I don't have kids, but like I imagine it's crazy now because you could say,
Oh,
write me a 1,200 word paper on this. Here's a writing sample. Make it sound human. Make sure that you're not plagiarizing the internet. Um, and then of course, like once you get it, you can say, great. Now I want you to rearrange everything so it's nothing like this.
yes.
So yeah, I don't know how school's gonna go. Good
I
luck to
I
anyone
think that's gonna
involved.
be maybe the next software breakthrough is to find out if a student has really written, um, it's
Yeah,
their own work or it
yeah.
has come from the internet and the ChatGPT or another AI service. And that is a challenge, as an author, I've been following the copyright
Yeah.
information, and I think that's really a key point. And then the other thing I think is fun to use and is the illustrators because I've been using Dolly, and I ask it to build me a picture of a receptionist in a veterinary hospital serving an older female client with a tiny poodle, like a chocolate poodle, and do it in the style of Vincent van Gogh. It was awesome. It was awesome.
I know. I love the art, and I use Midjourney. I think I've created like 20,000 images. And what's crazy is I'm just gonna say it, to people out there, you will see, marketing materials coming from us. There are AI generated pictures of, veterinary receptionists checking someone out. There are pictures of veterinarians seeing dogs, and honestly, we got to the point where whether it was Whisker Cloud or now at Pevvisor, it's like okay, we can keep buying these expensive stock photos, or we could just make our own. And what's great is you create a really, I mean, our prompts are really long. My prompts are 10 times longer than most people's, but I will say like it always comes out great. And in Midjourney, it'll spit out four. I can put the aspect ratio I want. And guess what? If I don't like them, I can click do it again and do it
Do it
again.
again.
And all of a sudden I've got
Mhm.
80 versions and I always find good ones. It's always the hands. As long as the hands don't look all screwy or the eyes, I'm like, okay. And if the eyes come out good, and sometimes I'll even put in the prompt like show no hands. So, they'll have everything out of the, and I'm like,
Right.
God, this is a perfect
So they
photo.
don't
I
have
would think it
7
was a real photo.
fingers because sometimes they
Exactly.
will.
I
Well,
know.
I'll have to tell you this, the person who does, a lot of my marketing for my book was trying to use the cover of the book, and the cover of the book is 2 hands that are in the heart. And so she puts into her prompts, I want, to have, these hands in the shape of a heart. Well, it comes out in the shape of a human heart, like
Oh
anatomically. And then
God.
it has like all these valves on it that look so, so
Oh God.
it was so funny. She decided to use it as the t-shirt for her family reunion, but it wasn't going to work for my marketing stuff at all.
But you know what's interesting about that story though, and this is what I say to people, it's like if you need to really feel good about your messaging or your marketing, like that, those types of things, and those happen to me all the time. They really teach you how to be more concise when you're saying something because, it's like when I have a 18-person marketing team that are, in the US, London, and a little bit in Sri Lanka now. And I always tell them, it's like your prompt should be because we have graphic designers on staff. It's like when you go talk to the designers, you have to be so succinct with your prompt. Act as if you're telling a human, like act as if you're coming to me and telling me exactly what you need. And then it'll be good. And you'll notice when you're kind of like breezing through it or you're kind of, light on details, you'll end up getting funky stuff. And it's not a bad thing. It's just like, okay, if anything, it teaches me how a human could misinterpret the things I'm saying the same way this robot is. And so that's why I like doing it. Whenever I get mistakes like that, I'm like, oh God, that's perfect because I didn't word that right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really insightful. If we were thinking about the way we instruct clients to do anything,
Yeah.
there's such a level of assumption. I was talking about this the other day. In fact, I trained a class for AHA Tuesday, and I talked about this. I said, we assume that people have a basic level of knowledge of anatomy, disease, and medicine. And that is not true because
Nope.
80% of the people in the United States are medically ignorant. And I have asked the question multitudes of times of my student classes, have you ever had a client come into your practice who doesn't know if their dog is male or female? And 100% of them raise their hand. So it doesn't really matter the level of education. You're like, gee, what happened to science in school? This is really scary. But they just, don't know. Like if the breeder says this is a female, they don't go any further than that. That's the truth.
Oh
But
God.
if we remember that, and we remember that these are the things that we say all the time, and maybe we could, somehow put this into AI and say, this is what I'm telling a client, and maybe have it give it back to us and say, what do you understand from that? And we could
Yeah.
see if it is understandable, because I feel like, in fact, I actually talked to somebody who was at the veterinary medical board, and they said, our complaints are from poor communication, not from poor medicine. So when people are going to the board and complaining about their veterinarian, doesn't mean that their veterinarians didn't do a good job. It just means they communicated poorly about what they were doing, and the client did not understand. And so making sure that they do understand is really the goal of all of our businesses, mine and yours, is to make sure our communication is on target. Um,
You just hit so close to home. I wish you knew how close to home you just I mean, for years I've said that to our team. It's like you go to bed every night at Whisker Cloud, you have the best product. And if we're ever going to have an issue, and we do, it's lack of communication. I say that every time. And like anytime something comes up and I'm talking to our leadership team, I say to them, what's our takeaway here? Not a process problem. This is a people problem. This is a laziness problem. And I hate to say that, that's like human nature. And we have an amazing team of people here. I mean, I'd vouch for every person that works here on the Petas team, on the Whisker Club team. But it's tough to be a great communicator 100% of the time. And I like what you said. Like if we assume that people understand everything, and by the way, we work with so many amazing veterinarians who know what they're doing, but just because they know what they're doing with X doesn't mean they understand Y. And you know like someone that you and I both know, like I was on the phone with like 30-40 minutes last night with Michael Shirley, who's a friend and uses all of our products, and just talking to him. And like he's a guy that asks a million questions, but it's a good thing. I like people that ask questions. I like to ask questions. But yeah, I mean, you know and that's what also worries me about AI, because AI, like you and I, and probably a lot of practice managers you work with, like we know what it's like to work with humans. AI, they take the emotion out of it. They're not like, oh yeah, this is a person who's has their first puppy. It's just like, nope, this is what to do. Good luck, have a good night. And there's like so much nuance there. I think we'll get there with AI, but that nuance still isn't there yet.
Well, and it learns, and it gets better every time. Supposedly it gets better, but it can get
Yeah.
strange too, because as I was talking about the photographs, and creating the graphics, if you keep doing it, I mean, if you're really not succinct about it gets weird. It can get
It
really
gets
weird.
really weird.
That's get weird. Um, so let's talk about a little bit about like networking. And I mean, because you and I mean, we met through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think Danielle probably connected us in some way from Snout School. And tell me about how you feel networking helped you grow your business, and then obviously pulled you into this group that you're working with now.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you. So, I had an advertising agency. I had nothing to do with veterinary medicine ever, literally ever, other than working with vets for my dog rescue. So, when I joined, what was nice was day one we launched. I was speaking at Blog Pause, and I literally had no customers know anything. They asked me to speak, and I was like, "Hey, can I promote this thing I'm getting ready to launch?" They're like, "Yeah, there's a bunch of vets there." I was like, "All right, perfect." So I show up, I talk, I gave some, presentations, and I had like a bunch of vets come up to me after, like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." So we all ended up having lunch. I became close with Dr. Julie Busby, who's the founder of Toe Grip. She's amazing. So
Is
I met her that day. She introduced me. She was like, "Do you know Danielle Lambert?" I'm like, "I've never." I was like, "I'm new to all of this." She's like, "You have to meet Danielle Lambert like tomorrow." So I meet Danielle Lambert. We become close. She introduces me to Jessica Vogelsang. We become close. I meet Andy Rourke. So it was just this like, I think a couple things happened. One is, A, I wasn't like an OG tech person in this space. So I wasn't, I wasn't like jaded, like we just got to squeeze money out of these people. I was like, I'm fresh. I'm like, hey, I'm new. I'm really passionate about this. I'm a tech guy who has this idea for veterinary medicine. You all helped me with rescue dogs for years. I just want to work with you, and because I felt a connection, and I think that's what helped. And now it's like Ashley Bourgeois is a close friend, and Tanasia Crocker is a close friend, and I formed a relationship with you and Danielle and all these people. And yeah, I mean, I think that vet med is really small. And like you can hear a pin drop even now. So if you're not genuine and you don't really care, it's people know really quick, and word travels quick. Now I can tell you, like, being honest, this is a very frustrating industry as someone from the outside who cares deeply, because I'm like shocked that it's like 8 years later. I think you and I even talked on the podcast maybe 2 or 3 years ago on my podcast about, like, it's toxic and there's stuff like that. And it's like, it just keeps coming up. And it's funny because I've made all these friendships and acquaintances in this space, and it's still the main topic. I listen to all the podcasts. I
Yeah.
watch your videos. I listen to Tom Seco's podcast, Jonathan Light, Michael Bugg's podcast. I mean, I'm on all of them. I listen to all of them. Tanasia's a very close friend. I'm with me and my wife and her husband. We've gone out to dinner, and it's just like the industry hasn't changed, and it's so frustrating to watch because I'm like, I desperately want to, like, and I don't know why I feel like it's on my shoulders, but for some reason I feel like it's on my shoulders to like help get it to the other side. And again, not to go on a tangent, but yeah, I mean, it's like those relationships at least have someone like with their sounding boards where we all talk like, how can we help the industry? What can we be more doing? What messages have to be out there? And like I said, I met Taylor Kavanaugh and Brandon Hanono from Pet Desk and formed relationships with them, and Julian and his team at Vetstoria. And those friendships led us to where we are today. And literally 4 times a year, you have the leaders of all of these companies with all of our connections together in a room, just doing like quarterly planning, not to mention we literally work together every day. So all of us have been in business about 8 to 10 years, and we've all, seen all sides of it. And just a lot of bouncing each other off. We all have different partnerships. Like when I was just at London Vet Show, what I thought was funny is you were talking about meeting Julian. Um, I went to London Vet Show in November because I spoke, and Whisker Cloud moved internationally, and that team now reports to me. So I wanted to go out there and meet everyone, and I walked around London Vet Show. Not only was it way different than VMX or
Mhm.
WVC, I watched every veterinarian there. I mean, I don't know, hundreds. I mean, there was thousands of people there. Everyone walked up to Julian, gave him a big hug. It blew my mind. If you have, and no, Julian's a vet. There's two Julians, Julian Renard, Julian Poublon. They're both co-founders of Vetstoria, both vets. Every vet knew them. And it was just so funny. We all leave, everyone left. I'm with my team and a couple, friends. I brought my wife, and we're sitting there. We go to this random pub in London, did not coordinate this. There's Julian with like 50 vets, and everyone's hanging out. So, I think networking is really important. Like I see what you do all the time too. It's impressive. Like everyone knows you. You talk to everyone. Your vet partners, you have your website, you have your book, you have you have the show that we're doing right now. It's like you do those things. That's how you win in vet med. You just offer value and care.
Yeah. Well, I've had several interesting conversations in the last few weeks with folks, and some of them life coaches who are veterinarians, and other people who are, really doing the work to try to help the teams. But I feel like there's a couple of messages that are being missed. And first of all, that is like 80% of people who work in the veterinary hospital actually like what they do. And we are making the message sound like there's something wrong with you if you don't like what you do. And so that
I
is
agree.
completely incorrect. But there are a percentage of people who are suffering. Now, are they suffering because maybe they weren't even suited for the work? Because the work is hard. The work is
Yeah.
hard, and it is emotional, and it requires you to be a little closed off. You've got to guard your heart, I think is what I'm trying to say here. You can be all in, you can be highly empathetic, but if you are so highly empathetic that you take on all the suffering, then yeah, you're going to suffer. The other thing that is missing is the communication training. And I know that schools, I've had discussions with Dr. Ryan Engler, who's written the book on communication for the vet schools. I've written a book. Josh Weissman has written a book on psychological safety and practices. But what I find is that veterinarians are scientists, and when they go to continuing education classes, what they want to know is about the medicine. And they don't come into the sessions that I give or you give or some
Yeah.
other people who are talking about this give or Tanji gives. And that's the missing piece of the puzzle. So I've had a conversation with people who are on the boards and say the only solution to this and the technician utilization problem is, first of all, we need to train technicians side by side with veterinarians in veterinary school, because you can't teach dance partners to dance in two separate cities.
Yeah.
You're going to dance, you're going to dance together. And the other part of it is we should require at least 2 hours a year of communication training for all licensed veterinary professionals, because that's the only way we will get them to take these classes, and they learn to do, they learn emotional intelligence, they learn communication skills, they learn managing conflict. Because so much of what I saw, particularly during COVID, with us having conflict with clients, with us firing clients all the time, truly came from a breakdown in communication. We didn't tell clients how we were suffering. We didn't tell clients we were overwhelmed.
Yep.
We didn't put the message out there that says call 3 months in advance instead of 3 days, because the things have changed. And you won't know that because you're sitting home bored out of your mind because you can't go to work and you can only go to the grocery store and the doctor. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but we again assumed that people knew what we were living through, and they didn't. But when we did tell them, they gave support. They sent food. In fact, one of my clients, I wrote a letter and just put it on my website and said, just use this. Just send it out to your clients. Let them know what's happening. It's free. Just take it. And my client used it and she said, oh my gosh, it was like Christmas. Our clients sent all this food over. And some even
I love
volunteered to
that.
come and work the front desk and clean kennels. I went, that is when you have a loyal client base and have raving fans. They're willing to come out of their house and help you clean a kennel in your hospital because they see you suffer and they want to help. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it's just kind of oh a personal rant with me that we need to understand our brain a little bit better. And the more we talk about negative things, the more our brain seeks to find those things.
Yeah.
Instead, we need to look at the positive that we do, the wins that we have, and the people who love us, and dwell a little bit more on all those things and the good times that we do have at work. And then, learn communication skills so that you can move into conflict, because I think that's what I'm seeing a lot now, is if we don't move into conflict, it never gets any better because we never have the discussions. And often what I see particularly with young people is, rather than have a discussion that says I'm not happy here, I don't like what's going on, or these people are not working together in collaboration, they just quit and they give up, rather than saying,
Yeah.
oh no, let me do something about it. So I think we need to be proactive about doing things too.
I like the idea of what you said about like clinics communicating with clients a little bit better. I mean, like I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but yeah, my dog Sophie, she's going to be 14 in April, and there was some dark times in December where I thought I wasn't sure where it was going to go, and I think I'm not kidding you. I think we've spent 12 to 15 thousand dollars on her care since November. A lot of this stuff's outside of normal insurance stuff, and we're just well beyond that point, and the clinic we go to is a great clinic. It was purchased by VCA, but everything was still great. And we've been going a long time. And there was just one situation with both dogs' blood work. And I got an email saying, here's their blood work, let us know if you have any questions. And I responded and I said, well, was it good or bad? And he's like, it wasn't great, but we'll monitor it. So me, I have thousands of vets that I talk to. So I sent the blood work to two I'm really close with and said, anything to be worried about? My phone rings and they're like, Sophie needs to go to a specialist immediately. I said, wait, are you serious? He said, yeah. And I said, what? Come on, really? He said, yeah. We end up going to a specialist. Turns out it's like very, very dire. I mean, like, she could die. And I called the other vet and I said, "Hey, can you walk through the blood work with me?" And he said, yeah, and he's walking through the blood work and he's like, "Yeah, in this number, it's pretty bad." He's like, "So, it's definitely something that we need to do." And I was like, I'm telling you all, everyone, a lot of people know me. I'm a calm guy. I also love the Hulk. And that moment right there, my love and compassion of vets stopped me. But I will tell you all, it's like that moment is how vets get bad reviews. That's how you get like seriously review bombed. That's how, you cause a real problem for yourself. Because in reality, could have emailed me and said, "Hey, she's on her way to, liver and kidney failure without a massive change in medications, diets, things like that." So we've been spending money and doing all this blood work. Turns out she had Cushing's. Turns out,
Mhm.
she had a couple other things. So, we go through all these things. They were worried about pancreatitis. So now she's on a lot of medicine, but, it was really hurtful because I'd been going to them for years, and and everyone there knows that these dogs are truly my children. And the lack of care in that email, and then, not everyone has access to thousands of vets like me, so
Right.
that was lucky. And then I don't know, it was just, that's how pets pass away. And so anyway, long story short, I would have rather gotten a very scary email. I'm just saying this to any vet watching. I would have much rather gotten a scary email that's like, "Hey, I'm gonna level with you. She needs a lot of changes. We got to do a lot of blood work. We're going to test for Cushing's. We're going to test for pancreatitis. The medicine's expensive. You got to put her on new food. You're going to have to do all these things, but this is how you prolong her life and keep her happy." And I would have been like, "Wow, okay, this is really eye opening. Thank you." But now, I mean, I could never go back to that clinic because I I just can never trust that again.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
just tough. It's tough. And again, it's like those were the moments where, I looked at my wife and I'm like, this is why Whisker Cloud existed. Not necessarily for us to do those parts of it, but to hopefully offer technical solutions, things like pet test now. It's like offer solutions that kind of aid in that because I get it. Vets are busy. It's hard. You don't have to, not every client wants that level of communication,
Sure.
but I would just say, like, the worst thing you could do is over communicate with someone and someone says,
Right.
"Can you stop bugging me?" It's the
Yeah.
worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. I agree. And when going through that scenario, what you said, first of all, no veterinarian that worked under me would have emailed you. It would have been, or call me. It would have been, we need a
Yeah.
call, because that is not a discussion to be typed. That is a discussion to be verbalized and questions answered, and a conversation flow happens, not this is email. And to ask a client to monitor their pet's blood work,
Like, I would even know what anything is on there.
why would you know?
Could
I
you
mean,
imagine if I said to someone, "Hey, and do me a favor, monitor your SEO.
right.
Let me know how your search engine rankings are going. We'll catch up
Exactly.
in a month." They would be like, "You're fired
Right.
instantly."
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the way the game is
Yeah,
played,
yeah.
not at all,
No.
at least not when it's played well. And obviously it made you change providers,
Yeah, oh yeah.
because
And
that
I love them. And by the way, I love them, but I was just like, I could never trust, it's like, having a soon to be 12 and 14-year-old Boston Terriers who are surprisingly in good health now. It's been expensive, but they're in good health and I'll do whatever it takes for them. And I have one of them snoring next to me right now. And it's like, yeah, I mean, we had to just because at this age, stuff's going to happen. And
yes.
I would never trust them again. And I mean, I want everyone to think about that. The difference in a phone call, an honest phone call versus I just got to get this email out really quick.
Mhm.
I mean, it's it's the difference between losing a guy who does quarterly blood work. I mean,
Yeah,
think about how much money we're worth.
right.
I'm not even saying that in like a braggy way. I'm just nuts. And I do quarterly blood work.
Mhm.
Baxter's on Apoquel. They're both on, Baxter's on Atopica now. Sophie's on 50 different things for her Cushing's. It's like we bought our food through them. It's like, God, we're really valuable to you. We're like your dream client. We do
Dream
dentals
client.
every year. Yeah. It's like if you could have 50 of me, you could run a business off of that. And yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, they blew it. So that sucked.
yeah. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that I don't know that we don't train. And I know we don't train veterinarians to think that way. They don't think like business people, and you and I both think that way, like,
Yeah, yeah,
take care of the and to be honest, we all know that the 80-20 rule is absolutely true for every veterinary hospital too.
yep.
That top 20% is the ones that are going to keep you in business, and the other ones are going to randomly come in and out and hope for the best. So, take care of those people. In my hospital, I had a little asterisk behind my top clients' names. And so if whatever they wanted, the team, even if you were brand new and you walked in the door and you'd been there 2 days and you saw that little star after somebody's name, you
Yep.
just said, "Yes, ma'am, and yes, sir," and we'll figure it out. Or go and get
Yeah.
Debbie and she'll figure it out for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean I agree with you, and again it's just like, and I think that's like all parts of life. I think everything is, I was telling you, you had a house renovation. I just did a house renovation. I sent a I sent a text to our main guy on the first day. We had met with him, we left, everything's good. I sent him a text. I said, "Hey, I'm really excited about this. It means a lot to my wife." I said, "Do me a favor. I know stuff's going to happen. I know stuff will break. I will never be mad at you if you're honest with me. Promise me we're in this together and we'll communicate." And he said 100%. You fast forward, we just moved back in like a week ago, but you fast forward like 3 weeks ago. We're at the tail end. We had some issues coming up, and we have a smart house because I'm me. And literally, like, there's cameras, there's smart door locks, there's lights, everything is like on timers, everything has automations. And they said, "Oh, yeah, the guys had to finish early today. They didn't get everything done, yada yada." Um, and I said, "No, no one's there." And he's like, "No, no, they were there." I'm like, "No, we have smart locks and cameras, dude. No one's been in my house all day. You're lying to me." And he admitted he was lying. And I'm like, "Why'd you need to lie? Why?" So yeah, I'm with you. Like, better communication is so important.
Well, human nature avoids conflict. And it's just part of our limbic brain. If we've ever learned anything about animals and being fear free, we know that avoidance is their first line of defense to something
Yeah.
that's uncomfortable for them. And human beings are the same thing, but that's a vestige from when we were hunter gatherers out in the world trying to just survive. But that
Yep.
doesn't bode well for us today. We need to understand what our brain is doing to us and say, stop that nonsense. I need to move into being honest and if you screwed up, tell people you screwed up. I laugh. I tell this story on myself because I talk about managers. I said, if you make a mistake, tell your staff you made a mistake because it makes you authentic and honest. And I was supposed to work one Saturday morning and I just forgot to go. I wasn't used to doing it. And I was supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, and about 9:30, I went, "Oh, crap. I'm supposed to be at the clinic." And I call over and I go, "Why didn't you guys call me?" And they said, "Well, you're the boss. We thought maybe you just decided we didn't need that many people." And I went, "No, I just forgot to come to work."
I didn't know bosses were allowed to do that. I would be doing that
Just
way
screwed
more
up.
often.
Well, they thought it was hilarious. Unfortunately, they weren't busy. I said, "Do you need me to come now? Because we're going to close in 2 hours." They went, "No, we're fine. Don't come." And I said, "Okay," because I live 30 miles away. And so we went in Monday morning, like, "Yeah, yeah, don't show up for work. We get in trouble. We would do." No, you wouldn't really, but everybody goofs. Everybody goofs, and we don't make a big deal about it, but
Yeah.
we don't hide it either. And
Yeah,
that's
you
going to
can't. No,
keep
I mean,
your team loyal to you because they know you screwed up.
yeah.
They know when you're lying. And then the trust is broken. And more than anything, we build trust with our clients, we build trust with our team, and people will go out of their way to help you build what your dream is or, support you like a raving fan if you just are always honest with them, and
Yeah.
do everything the best you can. I have a good friend who is a mediator, and all she does is mediate animal cases, which is a very
Wow.
interesting field to be. It's like the divorced couple, like who gets the dog, and
Yeah.
the landlord disputes with the neighbors, and the barking dog, all those kind of things, and of
Wow,
course
how interesting.
she breeds Irish setters, so she has a lot of breeder, my breeder promised me this, this, and this, and all those kind of things going on. But I've also pulled her into conversations with veterinarians and clients who are upset because the veterinarians don't want to confess that they might have made an error or they missed something. And then the client perceives that. And then they start to question everything that the veterinarian has done. And of course, the insurance companies and lawyers don't want you to talk to people, right? Don't talk to
No.
them because you just get yourself in more trouble. But really, truthfully, the more you communicate with people, the more open and honest you are with people, most people understand because most people have screwed up themselves and they
Yep.
much appreciate that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah. So, Adam, let me ask you this. If you were going to give somebody advice about making like this huge decision like you just made, how did you decide to do that? Well, what was your process? Do you just kind of like go on gut, or is this kind of a logical thing for you?
I acted in the best interest of Whisker Club, like I do with everything. It was, how do we grow and get better? Like I said, we were bootstrapped, so there was no board, there was no private equity company. It was me. I was the 100% owner of the company, and we had 45-ish people, maybe closer to 50 when we went through that. And it's like all businesses, right? I wanted to grow, and it had just hit a point where, I mean, I truly worked 100, 120 hours a week, without fail. I joke that, before that time, I didn't take a real vacation. Now, like, a funny thing about me, I kind of alluded to at the beginning of this, is I had a rough childhood, so I didn't travel. So, now I'm an adult, I can afford to travel. Met my wife who's traveled a lot, and now I get to travel. And it was like, I would, we'd go on trips, and it was still like I would still work in the middle of the night, so I didn't bug her and things like that. And I didn't want to do that anymore. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for the company. And we could have kept going that way, and it would have been great, and it would have been fine. But now, like I said, my employees have better pay and better benefits. I have a more structured life. I mean, I'm in more meetings than I've ever done in my life, which is new to me. I'm not a meeting guy. I'm more of I'll just put on lo-fi music, put on a pot of green tea, and just work for 10 hours straight and get in the zone and have the most productive day. I'm still struggling with that, by the way. I'm still struggling with not, I haven't built websites in 2 years, even though I was building websites up until 2 years ago, not because I had to, but because I enjoyed it. I would go to our web team and say, "What do you need?" They're like, "Ah, we got to finish this homepage," and I'd say, "Let me help. What do you guys need? I'll design some stuff." So, now more of a meeting guy. But I loved it, and like I said, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have just sold the company to anyone. It had to be the right people. I had to, it was like, I have to have the right partners. Taylor and Julian were the right partners 1,000 times over. Not only were we longtime friends, but these are, one's a vet. Taylor and I, after I call it a merger. I call more of a roll up. After the roll up, we all had an in person meeting with our holdco CEO and CFO, and Taylor made a comment, and he goes, "I just want to say this at the beginning of this thing. If we ever lose sight of, like, the animals and the vets being the most important thing we do here, not profits, not technology, we only care about what helps vets and helps them take care of our pets," he's like, "then I'm gonna have a real problem with it." And I was like, "I second that 100%." And it was like our first real meeting with this new team. And it was just like, we're just saying this now. The animals will always come first. The vets will always come first. And there's been a lot of like topics and decisions that could have been made that I felt weren't in the best interest, and we've shot them down. So, like I said, A, I get to work with those guys. B, I mean, I get to be here and I get to be on our executive team, which is a small team, and I get to, have a large voice in the room on, the voice of vets. And, like I said, I can reach out to you, I reach out to Danielle, I can reach out to people and say, "Hey, what are your thoughts on this?" I mean, me and Danielle had a call last week, and she gave me a lot of feedback, and I went to our exec team and I gave them her feedback directly, and she stopped something from happening because she gave me her feedback, and I said, "Hey, this is how it's going to be perceived. She knows how this will be perceived. We can't do it." And everyone agreed. So yeah, like, look, I wanted to also, I have a wife I want to take care of. So, I wanted to make sure she was taken care of forever. After watching me literally kill myself for 8 years, I missed a lot of dinners. I missed a lot of events. We missed a lot of trips we could have taken. There deserved to be something where I could say, "Hey, we have something for this. we're going to invest it, and no matter what, you're okay for life. This was a weird way of thinking, and it's kind of a morbid way of thinking, but I just wanted to know that she's okay. And like I said, it all just truly came down to, like, do I get to be involved? Yes. Do I get to be very involved? Yes. Like, I'm a decision maker. Yes. Then I'm in. And like I said, my engineering team who builds the websites and does an amazing job, they were working overtime daily because of the growth. And now we have the pet desk team and the
Mhm.
Vetstoria team. And together, now they all have one manager who manages all those teams, but now they all have one engineering team. It's like
Mhm.
100 people. Same thing with me. I love doing marketing a lot. I love branding. I love messaging. So I said, hey, I don't need to run the ops of Whisker Cloud anymore, but I would like to run the messaging of all of this. So now, the heads of marketing at Pet Desk, Whisker Cloud, Vetstoria, Contact, and Groomer all report to me now. And our goal, and I love the makeup of our team because everyone on the team has multiple pets. Everyone is obsessed with their pets. And this is what we do. We're trying to create like content giveaways, and we're trying to do stuff, and it's like we're not just trying to sell crap. And I
Mhm.
think that's what makes it fun. So next week we're all together. We'll be together at WVC. I don't know when this is going live, but next week's WVC for whenever this goes live. But we'll
Right.
all be together, and we're doing a marketing summit off campus for a couple days. And I gave everyone some homework, and maybe this is good for this audience to hear. I gave everyone homework. And I don't know if anyone on my team knows why I gave them this homework. I said, you're going to pick a brand not related to pets that resonates with you deeply, whether it's their social media, whether it's their marketing, whether it's their website, messaging, a commercial you saw once. You're going to pick a brand and you're going to put together a 3 to 5 minute presentation, and you're going to come to the room and you're going to tell us about this brand, and you're going to act as if we'd never heard of it. They could pick Nike or Whole Foods or
Mhm.
Apple, but you're going to pick a brand, and you're going to tell us why it means something to you and why it makes you want to buy from them, and like what inspires you about it. And I'm hoping at the end of that everyone realizes, because we're going to take notes, and I'm going to pull like keywords. I'm probably going to type up notes, put into chat GPT and say, hey, what were the 6 themes here?
A little word
Great, spit them
cloud.
out for me. Yeah, give me a word cloud, and I'm going to say, all right, so now you all know for the rest of the year, every piece of marketing content you put out for Pet Desk, for Vetstoria, for Whisker Club, whatever, does it make someone feel like one of these words? Because if it doesn't, you're not doing your job, and now you know. So anyway, that's my, like, top secret. That's what we're kicking off next Tuesday. So you all heard it here first before my marketing team.
All
But yeah,
right.
I mean, but I also think that's that could probably be a fun exercise for a vet clinic to sit back and say, you know, tell us about a human health experience you had, the best human health experience you had. Everyone go around the room.
Mhm.
And then you take notes and you get a word cloud, and you said, you get things like, they made me feel safe. They made me, they talked to me, and it's like, great. We just built a framework for how to talk to our customers, because I
Right.
want every client and patient that comes to our clinic to feel these things. So now we know. So I'm hoping it goes well, and I'm hoping you all use it if you find value in that. But I'm really excited about it. Plus, I'm big into branding, and I follow a lot of brands that I don't even use just because I love their
Mhm.
messaging. So hopefully
So
I'll
I
learn
gotta
about some
ask
cool
you,
brands.
because we just had Super Bowl. So what was your favorite Super Bowl commercial?
Yeah, I mean, it was a light year of Super Bowl commercials. I watch joking. I'm a big football fan, but we're Rams fans, so it's like, but they were like, the Nerds one was okay. I thought the Michael Sarah V one was really interesting, just because he's just got this persona, and the brand, and the thing I liked about the Michael Sarah thing is, I was like scrolling Instagram a couple weeks ago, and there was like a video of him on a talk show with this woman Bobby, who like interviews celebrities, and he was like talking about Sarah V, and I totally thought it was real. And I'm like, why are they going down this road? And they got into a fight. And then you saw the commercial. I'm like, wow, that was like serious planning of like putting out a fake, webinar
Right.
podcast interview, all to like lead up to
To
that.
lead
And
up.
I was like so impressed by that. It totally blew me away. Like that level of detail and work was really great.
That's laying the groundwork. That's funny. Mine was the couch potato, the Pluto
Oh
TV.
yeah.
That one made me laugh out loud. Now I missed some of them because I was running back and forth cooking dinner at halftime. But I loved the couch potato one and the even the cat all cat show with the cat that was in the
Oh yeah.
potato out that just cracked me up.
Anything with animals typically wins
It
me. Like a couple
typically
years ago, there was a Doritos one. I have two Boston Terriers. There was a
uh,
Doritos one with a Boston Terrier, and I was like, okay, well, that's the best commercial I've
that's
ever seen in my
that's
life. But
yeah.
yeah, the Budweiser horses always gets
Yeah.
me too. It's just like they're so beautiful.
Nobody made me cry this year though, so
Yeah, yeah, nothing that was like no tears.
no tears. But I love the fact that what you were talking about there and doing the exercise because honestly, in my book, there's exercises with the chapters and thinking about customer service experiences that you've had and what experience made you feel special or what experience did you have that made you so aggravated that like somebody's talking on their phone instead of waiting on you and things like
Oh
that
yeah,
and bring those to the table and talk about how it made you feel because this is how we want people to feel when they come into our practice that they're important, that they're valued, that we care, and that we care about them and their pets, not that they are a commodity to run through the drive-through window.
that
And
was well said. That's really
yes.
well said because I can't tell you all like I have at least one bad customer service experience a day. I feel like I do. I feel like everyone does. And,
Mhm.
maybe I'm just hyper aware of it, but it's little things, but it's all the time. It's
Yes.
every little thing.
Yes.
And I don't think at the top, I mean, that's why I love my position now. It's because, do I run the support team like I used to? No. But the three people that oversee that part of the business, they see it the right way. They care so deeply. They've, all three have been in the, customer support roles for 15 years plus. So I trusted them to like take that over. And, like I remember the first day I'm like checking in, how's it going? Is anyone upset? And, but yeah, I mean, there's so many annoyances in life all the time. I joke that I'm like Larry David and like everything's like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like it's just like endless little weird things happen all the time. But the vet should just not be a place where that happens. And I
No.
mean, it's just so hard because it's so tough to be there. Like you said, it's tough to be in the clinics. And I always tell the story of like right after I launched Whisker Cloud, um, I had a clinic in Arvada, Colorado, outside of Denver. They invited me to come up for the day. And after 4 hours, I had to leave. I mean, I was so mentally and physically taxed after being in the clinic for 4 hours. It was a big clinic, awesome people. It was a very busy day, middle of the week. I was so mentally taxed, I had to go. And I went home, and I don't nap. I sleep like 4 hours a night my whole life. And I like went to bed. And I was like, okay, I don't know how anyone does this every day. Like kudos to everyone involved. That was hard.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. And that's what I meant when I said you've got to, I think we don't mentally prepare people for what is involved in it every
Yep.
day, all day long, and how, especially when you are fairly introverted as by nature, and then you have to constantly be putting yourself out for clients in order to serve them well. But to your point about having a poor customer service experience, I think what we get is mediocre all the
Yeah.
time. And
Yep.
we don't know what good looks like. And that's the
I
problem
agree.
too. I actually had a clinic who took their team to the Ritz-Carlton for dinner so that they
Uh,
could
uh,
experience what it was like to be served and served well.
I love that.
Like that.
That's such a great idea. Man, that's
Because
good.
once you experience it, then you want more of that. And
Yep.
and you understand the willingness to pay for it too. That's the
Yep.
other part of the puzzle. So if you're going to charge the prices that we unfortunately are
Yeah.
having to charge now, you better by God serve
I
with
agree.
the best of your ability and to the top of the game because I am a consumer of veterinary goods. Last year, I took my dog Tucker, who you saw just come in and out. He's always a co-host on the show at some point. But I took him to the vet, and I had not had a dog for 6 years, so I had to find a new vet where we moved. Found an AHA accredited hospital, the only one around, and I had what I consider to be a mediocre experience. And so the manager called me and said, "Why did you just give us 3 stars?" I went, "That's what I got." I said, "You want me to tell you
You
some
know,
things about why?" And, they have pet desk, and they called me and said, "Call to confirm your appointment." I went, "Well, you made me download pet desk. Why didn't I just confirm it on that?" I went, "Because they've been saying the same thing for 30 years, and they just told me to call, and I had to call." I went, "I don't have to call. There's technology for that. Why do I have to call?" So it kind of irked me that I had to do that. And, a lot of little things like that, nothing that was huge, but there were just really poor communication about some things. And so I am a new consumer of pet goods. And then this year I went back again for the same thing, and there was a 15% price increase over the past year. And the service wasn't any better. I mean, I like the doctor, I like the technician, but the rest of it was kind of like,
yeah,
So I feel like if we are, and I know, I know we deserve more money. And our technicians, our whole team deserves more money. But you've got to earn it.
yep.
Right? You gotta earn it, and you gotta earn it through service, and that's the part of the puzzle that we don't want to talk about much. We wanna keep doing the same thing we're doing now with this kind of minimal effort, and then not, uh, deserving the extra money that we want. So, yeah, those are important things.
Could you imagine Debbie Boone comes into your clinic and you mess it up? My God, like who on earth would
I
know that you were going to mess up more than this person? That is like, that is like, if I was running like a little like, burger stand and Gordon Ramsay walked up and we like undercooked his burger, like you can't do that.
I didn't say anything when I went in. I just kinda low key made my appointment, and I thought I'm not gonna say, I don't wanna do that and put
Yeah.
everybody on the spot. But, I came in, and then the doctor came in, and she looked at me about 2 minutes, and she went, "I know who you are." I went, "Oh, well,
Yeah,
okay."
it's funny as I was telling you that story about that vet I just had that issue with, and it was the same deal before they were, purchased by VCA. I went in there one day and um the receptionist was like, "Are you the Whisker Cloud guy?" And I looked at my wife and I'm like, "See? See?" And she's like, "Wow, congrats, superstar." And I would not shut up about it. But yeah, and she was a receptionist then, now she's the practice manager and she knows some of the stuff I've gone through. So she reached out. But yeah, it's like you said, you've got Debbie Boone walking, you've got the Whisker Cloud guy walking in. It's like, it's not like we're more special than anyone else that comes in, but at least we know the industry enough to know like what's right and what's wrong. And and that's I think what's unique about it is, but it's like you should treat everyone like they're Debbie Boone coming in. And then you won't have to ever worry about it because you'll never be surprised at, oh, that person was that. You can just be great all the time.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, Adam, this has been great. You and I could talk for hours, I know, about things like this, especially about customer service, because we're so adamant about the importance of it. But thank you very much, and good luck with your new venture. And I so appreciate your time today. And I hope the audience got some good information about big decision making. Because, boy, you ran through some.
Yeah.
We're also going to put your information and how to get in touch with you if anybody has any questions about the any aspect of your new business venture or anything
Great.
else they want to talk about. So thank you again, and thank you to everyone for listening to this episode of the Ben. Is again, I am Debbie Boone, and we very much appreciate your time. Thank you again.